Hi, welcome to my channel. I'm Amrita and this is my first ever solo RPG vlog. My favorite moments of the solo RPG gameplay is when I can surprise myself with the story. The place that we stayed at is literally what I imagine Sarah's home would look like. Not quite a trigger or like a lion, but definitely a whale. This session took me to places that I didn't expect to go, and I kind of want to sit with it for a minute. Today is January 1st, 2026, and this year I want to start documenting not just my solo RPG gameplays, but I also want to start documenting my process and experience of playing solo RPGs. Because in 2025, when I played solo RPGs, I caught myself having these moments or fleeting thoughts of insights into the gaming experience itself, but I wasn't able to capture them and reflect on them later. So I want to get better at being more mindful and more present about the gaming experience itself, and the only way I can think of to do that is by documenting it for my channel. I'm hoping it will give me some helpful insights that I can carry on to my next game and might also help someone else watching this. So this is an experiment, we'll see how it goes. But today I just want to have a casual chat about the game that I'm playing right now. The game that I'm starting today is called The Hearthlight Chronicles, and let me read you the synopsis of the game. So it says, The Hearthlight Chronicles is a journaling game where your goal is to journey through Hearthlight, a peaceful and whimsical place, and reflect on your experiences. Each day, you will read a prompt to guide your journaling. As you progress, you will interact with the village, explore, and hopefully, by the end, you will have grown, gained insights, and discovered new things about your life and the world around you. There are two reasons I want to start this game today. The first reason is that I think it will help me run the game that I want to run for my D&D group. So to give you a little backstory, which I've already mentioned in my D&D goals video, is that I made a game for my D&D group that is based on Diwali and the Festival of Lights. And the idea is that our party will go to my character's hometown for this Festival of Lights. I want it to be like a self-care, feel-good, reflective, facilitate downtime RP, fireside chats kind of vibe. So that's the game I want to run for my group some point in this year. But my problem is that I have this block, like a mental block, about describing and improvising fantasy settings or any fantasy elements really, because I have this thing in my head where we have a cultural disconnect between me and my group, because I grew up in India, they grew up in the US. So my fantasy references growing up are more Hindu mythology based and theirs are more traditional Western elves and dwarfs based. So I have this mental block for some reason. We have been playing for 5 years. I should have gotten over this at this point. But I haven't. So the thought of describing fantasy settings to them and fantasy elements that are inspired by my culture that they are not familiar with, somehow I'm building it up to be this big deal for myself, and I'm kind of feeling intimidated by that. And my hope is that playing through Hearthlight Chronicles will help me ease into being able to describe fantasy elements, because that's what this game is, right? You kind of journey through a village and explore the setting and talk to people. So I think this is a good practice game for me to do it on my own, and just talk through and improvise and talk out loud the descriptions and the interactions in a fantasy setting inspired by my culture. So that is what I hope to get from this game. So I have played this game before, actually, last year in 2025, but I just played it casually. I didn't mindfully take notes or see what's coming up for me, see where I kind of falter, and see what I need to pay special attention to so that I don't stumble during the game with the group. So I want to rerun this game with this setting that I want to invite my party to. So I think this will be a good practice game to build my confidence and get over this mental block that I've created for myself, basically. So that's the reason I want to play the game. That's my goal for playing the game. And the reason I want to start this game today on January 1st, 2026, is because my second goal of the year is to participate in the solo RPG monthly themes or challenges on the Board Game Geek forum. And they just announced their theme for January 2026, and it is darkness and the coming of light. Like, I feel like this is a sign from the universe of like, girl, you gotta play this game in preparation for the Diwali themed game that I want to run, because Diwali is the festival of lights. So that's the game I'm going to play. I'm going to play the Heartlight Chronicles as my D&D character, Syra, as she navigates her maternal hometown of Heartlight. So now let's walk through the setup of the game. So the way this game is structured is that it is inspired by advent calendars, and the idea is that each day you will answer a prompt or a question or a scenario inspired by the world of Heartlight. I don't think I'm going to do it one prompt a day. I might end up doing multiple prompts on a day. Another thing to note is that along with the prompts, they also have other gameplay mechanics involved. You have three stats: creativity, curiosity, and kindness. And you can roll a d6 to figure out which of the stats you want to focus on while answering a prompt. And then you also have something called Wonderlight, where you start off with 5 points of Wonderlight and then you spend um, a point to influence the outcome of a prompt resolution. And then when you use the stat of kindness, you regain a point of Wonderlight. These are gameplay mechanics that are optional. For this run, because I have a specific goal of why am I playing this game, is to help me improvise and stream of consciousness describe fantasy interactions and settings. I think using the stats will just slow me down and distract me from my main goal. So I'm not using the stats and the mechanics for this run of the game. I also want to call out attention to the section called Guidance for Reflection. It says, take your time, there's no rush, take each prompt at your own pace. If a prompt brings up deep emotions, take a break and return to it later. Be honest, there's no judgment here. Write honestly and authentically about how you feel. Heartlight is a safe space for you to explore your thoughts and emotions. Be gentle with yourself. And then prompt helpers are inspiration. Then reiterating that the goal and the vibe of the game is to unwind. With the Heartlight Chronicles, I tried to make more than a game. It is also an invitation to slow down a bit, stop, reflect, and smell the pine trees along the way. So yeah, I am very excited to just slow down, play a restful, fun game, and see what comes out. As for the journaling technique, like I said, because my goal is to be comfortable speaking out loud the fantasy descriptions, I am going to use the talk out loud method for journaling, at least to start with. So the first prompt is day one, the arrival. You arrive at the entrance to Heartlight, a place of warmth and wonder. What do you notice first about it? So I think in my world, Heartlight is called Sundarshil, and it is a village, a quaint little village nestled in the mountains of the Sahyadri Mountains. So this is actually inspired by my ancestral hometown in the western coastal regions of India called Konkan. My cousin still lives in a village in Konkan, and it is one of the most beautiful, the most peaceful, the most restful, the most chill place I've ever been to. The path to the village is through these winding mountains, and she has so many stories about how she used to commute every day from her village to her son's school, which was in a neighboring village, and they had to go through the forest, and it was just the two of them on a scooty, like a bike, and they have encountered like wolves and just like wildlife out and about, and so she has all these stories about it. So that's what I'm like imagining the path to getting to Heartlight or Sundarshil is like. For my story, I think my party will bamf into the teleportation circle, like the closest teleportation circle, and from there make their way to Sundarshil, and they will see fields of rice and mangroves and mango orchards. And then there's this river. So my cousin's village has a river. You have to cross the river to get to her village. And there's like this old wooden bridge that goes across the river, and then you have to cross the bridge to get to her village. And then the entrance of the village has what we call a kaman in Marathi, an archway in English, and then it has the name of the village, so it says like "Welcome to Sundarshil," and then it has a toran, which is like a wreath of like garlands of flowers and leaves, a sign to like welcome you in. I think that's the first thing you notice when you arrive at the entrance to Hearthlight or to Sundarshil, a place of warmth and wonder, is the the welcoming Thoran and the welcome sign on the arch. And what does she feel in the moment? So I'm going to go through all the three prompts just to see if it brings up anything else, like if it brings up something else. So the first is curiosity. What captures your attention? Is there anyone there? I know I said I'm not going to use the stats. I'm changing my mind on the fly. I'm not going to make myself use the stats for every prompt, but for this, I feel inspired to do so. So that's what we are doing. We are winging this, which is the whole point of solo gaming. Okay, so the first prompt is, or the first stat is curiosity. What captures your attention? Is there anyone there? Um, I think Syra has been into this village many, many times because this is her mom's hometown. I think when she enters, she sees people on the streets. There are cows on the streets because cows are grazing on the roads as they do in India. We share the land with the creatures of the land. It's not just our land, it's everyone's land. Like all the creatures who live here. That's like my personal pet peeve when I see Western media talking about like, oh, there are cows grazing on the roads because like yes, where would they go? But that's where they belong to. They belong here too. So yeah, I'm putting that in the fantasy version of my town. There are cows grazing on the roads, there are chickens running along the street, there are kids playing maybe like the fantasy version of cricket on the streets. That's what she notices. I think she notices just a very chill, calm vibe of everyone just going about their day in just like the most mundane content way possible. Like every person has their role in this community that they have been doing for years and years and years. And there's this practiced efficiency to their actions, but it's also unhurried, it's unrushed, it's just people living their lives. So I think that's what she notices. I think that's my first prompt. And then moving on to the second prompt, day two, a first glimpse. You take a walk through the village and meet a local. Who are they? And what do they share with you about life here? I think she would greet the people. I think everybody knows her because like they have seen her all through her childhood. So I think she would like greet them and ask them how they are and ask them some tidbit about their life, about like something that she remembers from the last time she was here. Syra's very good with people because she's a cleric and she's like a very people's person. She's also very, very nosy. So I think she would remember bits of gossip and information that she picked up the last time she was here, and she would, use that in conversation to inquire about their well being and just to see if everybody's doing okay. And yeah, I think she just like makes her rounds through the village, interacting with everyone that she sees on her way to her mom's home. And then the day three prompt is the ancient oak tree. An ancient oak tree stands in the heart of the village, rooted in the past with its branches reaching for the future. What does this tree reveal to you? This is a visual that resonates with me so much because this is a very common, fundamental, or yeah, I can't English today. Like a thing that you're bound to find in any Indian village that I have visited, which is like this giant tree. I don't know if it's an oak tree. We call it, what is it called? What is Vadacha Zhad? See, this is why I need this exercise called in English. Because I don't know what things are called in English, man. A banyan tree. Oh my god. A banyan tree is like a staple in every Indian village that I have been to. And so instead of the ancient oak tree, we are going to substitute it with an ancient banyan tree. Okay, so an ancient banyan tree stands in the heart of the village, rooted in the past with its branches reaching for the future. What does this reveal to you? Um, I think it's again that feeling of like, okay, I'm home. That's like the first visual reminder. You know, like in New York, for me, that was the Empire State Building. Every time I saw the Empire State Building, I was like going about my life, and then you could see the Empire State Building from my terrace or my balcony. And then I was just like living my life, you like normally. And then once in a while, I'd just like glimpse out and then see the Empire State Building and have that moment of like, holy shit, I'm in New York. It hits you of like what a wondrous magical life you live. And so I think that might be something that Sarah would feel the when she sees the ancient banyan tree, is that thing of like, oh yes, I'm home. You know, like that realization of like, oh yes, this is where I am. I don't know if she has that feeling walking into the village, but I think as she spends more time in the village, I think that's the feeling she would get every time she kind of like glimpsed at the tree in passing of like, oh yes, like that, just that moment of awareness and that moment of like wonder and realization. And then I think she passes by the tree, and then she goes to her family home, and she meets with her grandma, and she meets her aunts and uncles, and she meets her cousins, and she just has like this beautiful evening with them. And then she retires at the end of the night to the guest room. Um and yeah, just has a peaceful night of rest after a long day of travel. And I think that's a good stopping point for this session. Today is January 2nd, and it's 7:30 p.m. almost, and I just got done with work and I'm tired. I didn't want to finish the day without answering at least one or two prompts from the game. I'm not going to go through the ones next in sequence because I think they'll need more energy and creativity than I feel capable of right now. So I'm just going to like browse through and find an easy prompt that I can answer. So the prompt that speaks to me for today is day 18, a quiet moment. You come across a child sitting and crying over their pet that has passed away. What do you say to them? So I don't want to talk about or think about grief in this game. That is not something that I like in my games. Not quite a trigger or like a line, but definitely a whale. Thankfully, my character is a cleric. So I think what she'll do when she comes across this child, let's assume that the pet has just like recently passed away, like in the time window for Revivify to work. So I think that's what she'll do. I think she will console the child and then tell them that she can actually help, and she will go over to the pet and she will cast Revivify and bring that pet back to life, and all is well with the world. Another prompt that feels interesting to explore right now is day 8, the unexpected gift. Someone hands you a small and thoughtful gift. It's something simple yet meaningful. What is it and how does it make you feel? I think one of her nieces makes something for her. So her niece is Mithy. I think she makes Syra, because Syra loves sweets. I think Mithy would make her. No, you know what? I think Mithy would make her like a trinket. So, the last time Syra was in town, she got Mithy like a pair of earrings that she that had like flowers that were symbolic of the town that she had just visited. Like she visited a town and there was this flower that she got that was very special to the place and was like a very rare flower. And then she went to the market just to like browse, and she saw like really cute earrings with that flower, like that had the design of the flower. And she thought of her niece because her niece loves flowers, so she got them for her the last time she was here. Again, based on real life experiences, I got my niece flowers for elderflower when I was visiting Switzerland. So I'm just drawing from that experience. So I think that kind of stuck with her niece of like, oh, when you go to a place and then you see something that is special, you get something that represents that for the people that you love. So I think Mithy and her parents took a trip to, where would they go? to a city, maybe. Like they're from a village, so they would go to the city. And I think Miti got her like trinkets or like a charm or like some kind of jewelry or like something that is actually pretty common, but she doesn't know that because she's from like a small village and she doesn't know what fashion is trending in the rest of the world. But she saw it for the first time, and so it was really really special to her. And so she thought about it and she's like, oh, this looks special. And then she got something of that for Sarah. And Syra is very moved by that because she appreciates the lesson that Miti took from the last interaction with the earrings, and how she applied that lesson back to her, where she thought of me. And I think Syra feels very moved by that. Um, what would the thing be though? What's like in trend right now in real world that would actually be like hilarious to get as a special gift? I think it's like hmm. Okay, I think it's like a pendant or like a necklace that the design is very common. You know what it is? It's the what the Van Cleef. Like you get a lot of dupes for that. That design that is like so popular right now, especially on TikTok. And obviously the original is like super pricey and super expensive, but there's so many dupes out and about right now that and you can't really tell the difference between the original and the dupes. And I think that's what happened with Miti is that she went to this city and she saw this design everywhere and she was like, oh, this looks like nice and special and I should get something for my aunt. And then she gets it, and then Sarah, because she's like this rich noble nepo baby basically, she has the original. And yet I think she likes Mitti's version more than she likes her original. She might even be wearing her original and then she just like hides it, and when she goes home, like she removes it and wears Mitti's bracelet with that design that she got, because that's more special to her because Mithi thought of her when she was out and about with her parents. Yeah, that sounds right. That sounds cute. I like that. And then let's do one more prompt. Let's do okay, this is also interesting for today. Day 12, a small disagreement. You run into two strangers arguing over something. What do you do? What this is bringing up for me is something that all Indians that I know love is the art of haggling, like negotiating price on an item whenever you go to like a market in India, or at least India is a very big country. In like Pune, in my hometown, we have this very famous market called Turshibag, and you get like all kinds of trinkets there. It's like my favorite place in Pune. And there are like all these indie shops and vendors selling all kinds of like cute trinkets and jewelry and purses, like all accessories. Like it's fabulous. And the thing to do there is that you have to haggle. Like they set their prices knowing that customers are going to haggle with them. So I think that's what she witnesses is just this cultural phenomena. Like it's a very expected exchange where you have to argue, you have to negotiate. That's how it works. Like the sale isn't complete and you don't get joy from buying that thing unless you know you have negotiated a good price. Even though logically you know that the price was raised to a point where they can bring it down to the price that you negotiated for, so you didn't really get a good bargain. You have been like tricked into the original price of the thing, but just like the art and like the experience and just like getting that win, it feels so good, and it's part of that dopamine hit that you get when you buy something in Turshibag. You know what I mean? So I think that is what she observes, and I don't think she would intervene. So the question is, do you just observe? And I think yes, I think she would just observe because this is like an important cultural touchstone of the town that she is in, and she wouldn't rob anyone of that experience of the joy of a good haggle. So yeah, I think that's what she witnesses, and she will not intervene and get secondhand enjoyment from witnessing that exchange. And yeah, I think that's all I got for today. I'm so tired. Tomorrow's the weekend, so I think I can spend more time and I'll have more energy for some of the prompts. So I'll see you tomorrow. Good night. So, turns out he did not see me the next day because I had to pack to travel to visit my best friend on the east coast of India. And then we took a little road trip down to a coastal town called Pondicherry, which was the perfect time for the next prompt, which is a cozy space. You find a cozy nook in a local coffee shop. And the reason this was a perfect prompt for this trip is because that's all we did in the 3 days that we were in Pondicherry is we cafe hopped because Pondicherry is known for its cute cafes that you can spend time in. So we started off with this really cute cafe with a very cozy nook that perfectly fits the prompt. Another source of inspiration for this prompt was this cafe that we visited that had so much greenery and the weather was so perfect on this day to just sit outside in this cozy space. And we went to lunch a bit later in the day. We had the whole place for ourselves. There was no one else there. But my absolute favorite was this place that we visited, which is actually a heritage villa, and they've converted the rooms in the villa into different spaces. You enter the cafe space, which is very homely, very cozy, very comfortable, and they had like tiny shops set up. They had multiple seating arrangements. So they had like the traditional Indian floor setting called Paitak, and then the older style of couch seating in India. And the artwork was so beautiful. Oh my god. And then they had this little tiny space that was like a music space that had music playing on a radio. My favorite part was the shops. We spent, I think, like 2.5 hours in that tiny shop because they had such cute stationery and lamps and purses and tote bags and magnets like fridge magnets and stuff. This is my favorite cafe that we had visited, and I would love to incorporate it in my game that I'm running for my group. So I think that's the vibe I'm going for, is a very traditional heritage space that is very homely, that is multi-purpose. It has a marketplace included in it where you can get all sorts of artifacts that you can buy. And then I also want to call out the place that we stayed at because this is not a prompt, but I think it is related to the prompt. It was a cozy space, and I think this will be more relevant to my game that I want to run for my friends, where the characters will stay at Syra's ancestral home. And the place that we stayed at is literally what I imagine Syra's home would look like. So in Pondicherry, you have regular hotels that you can stay at, but you also have homestays, which are heritage villas that are converted into places that tourists can stay at. And the one that we stayed at was so cute and so cozy and beautiful. Rich culture and history and traditions. Every nook and corner was beautifully decorated with artwork and vintage lamps and chandeliers and just beautiful wooden carvings. It was spacious and luxurious and at the same time very cozy, which I think is the exact vibe of Syra's home. Even the color of the interiors was yellow, which is the color that I associate with Syra. I think I'm just going to show my group these clips to help them visualize where they're staying at when they're at Syra's place. Today is January 17th. It's a whole week after the vacation, and I couldn't play during the week because I had work to catch up on. But today I have some time, so I'm going to answer a couple of prompts. And the first prompt I want to answer, a shared experience. A local invites you to share in their daily work or hobby. What do you do together? Okay, so in the context of the game that I'm world building for, the setting is Diwali, the festival of lights. I used to accompany my parents on errands, and specifically at the time of Diwali, my favorite errand to run was to go to the flower market, or just like the market, all the things that you need for Diwali. Shopping for those was one of my favorite errands to run. I think Sarah would also enjoy that errand. She would accompany her family members to go shopping for the festival of lights whenever she's in town, and when her friends arrive, she would take them to see the market as well. I think the market is like feels endless. Stalls of lanterns and diyas and flowers and clothes and anything that you can think of, like decorations. It's an endless market. And there are multiple varieties of flowers that I should look up now. The only one that I know of, because they are my favorites, are the marigold flowers. But I'm going to look up Diwali flowers just so I can describe them for my crew. Okay, so the Diwali flowers include marigolds, lotus, jasmine, and roses. So those are like the primary flowers. You'll also see a lot of vendors selling puja items, which in D&D terms would mean like spell components, I guess. Oh, they would also see materials for making rangolis. One of my activities for the group to do during the festival is to like make rangolis of different materials and kind of imbue them with spells and stuff. This would be a good place for the group to purchase those materials that they would may like to make rangoli with. So you can make rangoli with colors, obviously, but you can also make rangoli with grains. You can make rangoli with again flowers and petals and leaves. So that's the market and that's the errand that she runs. And then the second prompt I want to tackle today is the village feast. The villagers host a feast to celebrate the season. What is the feeling as you share this time together? In the context of the game, I think when Sarah's friends arrive at the village, there would be other visitors, other people's guests who also are visiting the village for the Festival of Lights. So the villagers get together and throw a big feast for them. And I think the whole village kind of does like a potluck, an assortment of dishes from all over India, from like different parts of India. Oh, wait, I'm changing my mind. I don't think they would have cuisines from all over. I think they would have cuisines from the coastal regions. So it would be a lot of coconuts and it would be a lot of mangoes. There would be like mango barfi and mango like sandan, which is like a mango barfi but in coconut milk. And then there would be what else? Mango shira, which is like mango pudding, and all mango related dishes that you can think of, they have it. They also have a lot of coconut dishes, so they have a lot of modaks, which are like sweet momos made filled with jaggery and coconut fillings. I think they would still have idli and dosa with like coconut chutney because that is still like the coastal region food, but in southern India. A huge variety of like rice dishes. We'll have rice puddings and pulao and biryani. I think it would just be like a very elaborate feast that I hope my friends enjoy. And then another prompt I want to answer is the key. A local gives you a mysterious key and tells you it's meant for you. What is your next step? So I wonder if at the potluck she gets the key when there are multiple strangers that she has never met before, and then a mysterious person just like hands her a key. A little chaotic part of the evening where there's like a lot going on. Someone hands her a key and is like, "This is for you, and you have been chosen for this key." I think she would have a moment of panic because she has not had a great experience with mysterious objects. The last mysterious object that she had mind controlled her and made her really mean to her friends, and she has a lot of trauma from that. And kind of made her very selfish and self centered and turned her against her friends. She's like literally in therapy to get over or like process and get over that trauma. So I think her first thing would be panic, and then she would go find her friends and her parents and like tell them of like, I have a mysterious thing that someone handed me and told me I'm the chosen one, and that did not go well that last time. So but last time she kept it to herself, so her new motto is like, any mysterious thing you get, you tell everybody so everybody knows. So that would be her next step, which is all the prompt asks for, is her next step. And I wonder if I should delve into what the key unlocks. And that kind of brings up this thing for me, which is one of my other characters actually has a key that unlocks a door, like that can unlock any door. And we in our game, for the end of the last campaign, we did like this multiverse thing where all of our characters, like the multiple characters that I play in multiple campaigns, all kind of got together. So Sarah in canon knows my other characters that I play in the other campaigns in our group. So now that I'm thinking about it, maybe that's how my other character got that key, the that unlocks everything. Maybe that's the origin story of the key from their perspective, is that Sarah at some point hands them the key saying like, hey, you're more intelligent than me. And that's the story of the key. So yeah. Okay. I think That works. Today is January 18th, and today is a Sunday, so I have time to spend on this game today. And I have been going through the prompts, the ones that I have done and the ones that are left. And I have done 10 prompts so far, so I have 14 left. And the last two prompts are actually reflective prompts, so I think I'm going to save them for a reflection session that I want to do at the end of this game. I not only want to reflect in game on Sarah's experience through Heartlight, but I also want to reflect on my gaming experience and my vlogging experience. So, apart from those two prompts, I have 12 other prompts left. As I'm going through the 12 prompts, I'm realizing that they have a theme. So, the theme is kind of taking a walk among the woods and then taking a walk in the town. And I wonder if I can string them all together in one coherent, cohesive story. So I think that's what I'm going to try to attempt today. I'm going to try and attempt all 12 prompts in one go to form one scene. I don't know if I'm going to read out each of the prompts. I might or I might not. We'll see how it goes. But to start with, the first prompt that feels right is a fork in the path. You come across a fork in the road. One path is clearly worn and other overgrown. So I think one day, when the weather is really nice, Saira sets out for a walk through town. I don't know, maybe at like dusk or like twilight, maybe, or either dusk or dawn. Maybe dawn. Okay, maybe let's go with dawn and then we'll see if we need to move it to dusk. So at dawn, she wakes up and she sees the sunrise and she's like, you know what? It feels like a good day, a good time to go for a walk. So she sets out on a walk and she walks through town and then she's just like wandering around and she reaches the edge of the woods and she is familiar with the regular paths that everyone takes, so she can see the worn paths, but she also sees an overgrown one. I think the path kind of gives off magical energy, like maybe the path wasn't always there, maybe it appeared just for her, maybe she senses some presence, like maybe she senses Liara's presence, little butterflies flitting around or fireflies, like something to indicate that this is a path she's meant to take and it's safe and meant just for her, like lovingly created for her. So I think that's the path she takes. And then she reaches a meadow, which is also a secret garden. It has flowers and it has all the flowers that she's used to seeing. The flowers that we already talked about that are important for Diwali, like marigold and lotus and rose and lilies and jasmine. So these are all the flowers, but the flowers here seem to have some magical quality. They're just a little bit brighter, they're a little more colorful, they smell really nice. That's the sweet scent that she smells. Maybe even before she reaches that meadow, the sweet scent of the flowers kind of like wafted towards her as she was making her path to them. Maybe that's what enticed her to come to this meadow in the first place. She reaches this meadow of flowers. There are the regular flowers, there's also a bunch of wild flowers that she has never seen before. There are all kinds of colors that you could imagine, or you probably couldn't imagine. There's maybe like a silver flower and gold flower, and just multi-color flowers, maybe flowers that change colors, and just like a riot of colors and different types of shapes of the flowers. And yeah, she just is like taken, assaulted almost by the sweet scent and this visual of flowers in front of her. What it makes her feel, I think she takes a moment to just sit in the meadow and breathe in the scent and just let her senses go and meditate, or not even like actively meditate, but just be present and just surrender to this abundance of nature and beauty and magic all around her. As she sits in the meadow, I think there's like a light breeze flowing. Again, there is like the sweet scent, which isn't as overwhelming now that she's gotten used to it. It's kind of simmered down to a very pleasant, lingering smell. I think she also hears faint music, even though she doesn't know where it's coming from, but she just knows that this is where she is supposed to be and this is where she belongs. She feels very safe, she feels cared for, she feels loved, she feels like this is somebody's of service to craft such a beautiful experience for her and just for her. So she feels very special. And after she feels content and ready and has the sense of completeness and the internal permission to move on, she comes out of her trance and sees a glow fox who leads her to a forest glade. As she approaches the forest glade, the music starts getting a little louder, like a tiny bit louder, like she knows that's the direction it's coming from, but the source still remains mysterious. But she follows the glow fox and follows the direction of the music. And the music is very soothing. It's almost as if harmony of the universe, like it's the harmony of all the critters and the breeze and the flowers and all of them kind of creating this beautiful music, but it is also actual music. So it's just like a compass directing her in the direction she's meant to go, not trying to investigate the source of the music, but just trusting it to take it where she needs to be. The music leads her to a lake, and the lake is like crystal clear, still water, where it's like very clear, very clean, and she has a drink of the water, and it kind of refreshes her. Then she looks at the reflection as she takes a moment to ponder her own reflection. The water shimmers, and there is a change in scene. And I think what she sees is kind of the past, present, and future versions of her. Like it's kind of the what was the thing? The sieve in what was the thing in Harry Potter where you could like put your thoughts into the water and kind of like reflects your thoughts, something like that. I'm forgetting the term that they used in Harry Potter, but it's kind of like it's her internal thoughts that she has been thinking for a while being reflected in the water in front of her, just so that she can get a distance and reflect on her own thoughts and her experiences. She sees scenes playing out from her recent past. She sees the mysterious object that I told you about that mind controlled her, and how that isolated her, and all the things that she felt or didn't act on but she did feel. As the cleric of the goddess of joy, that's the disconnect that she has been dealing with the most, is how could I not hurt them but think hurtful thoughts about them even though I didn't act on them. How could I be jealous of them? How could I think of anything other than the best for them? And that has been kind of something that she has been dealing with internally for a while, and that kind of plays out in scenes and moments in front of her. So she kind of gets that distance from herself and kind of like objectively observe those scenes playing out. I think what happens is that she develops empathy for herself, like she develops compassion for herself that she hasn't been granting herself, but that I feel like she has been punishing herself unconsciously or subconsciously for so long, ever since that incident, because she can't forgive herself for being not the best version of herself to her friends. And that's such a break from her self identity that I don't think she ever forgave herself for that. But seeing that objectively playing out in front of her, she can see how she was influenced by things out of her control, and there was nothing she could have really done about it. She wishes she had a stronger moral compass or higher intelligence score to be able to resist the mind control, but she doesn't have good intelligence. She's very wise, she's not smart. That's the outcome of this lake of reflection, is she is able to objectively realize how everything played out, and again be a little sympathetic and an understanding of herself. And at the end of the day, when it really matters, she was able to break the mind control and save the day. Not save the day, save the moment. So that's all that mattered, and she's getting therapy for it, so it's all good. And I think once she has processed that immediate past, what comes up in the lake of reflection is a present where now she is a more present friend. She is more intentionally kind. She has a stronger sense of self. She's so proud of the relationships that she has built and the friendships she has built and the things that she has overcome, and the way she has mended her relationship with her mom, and then she had the whole thing about like she criticized her mom and then had put her dad on a pedestal, and then the last campaign kind of like brought her to the realization of like the one that you have when you grow up, and as an adult you look at your parents and you go, oh, they're also just humans trying their best. That was her arc in the last campaign. She's pretty young, she is a new adult, so I think that's what she sees for her present day is the realization of, okay, that those were growing pains. I was a kid, I grew up, I went through everything that I did, and now I'm at a stage where I am a responsible adult. I am a good friend. I am a good daughter. I am a good cleric. And she just feels good about herself. And she is finally able to forgive herself and give permission to like herself again. Oh man, this is so deep. I didn't expect us to go so deep. Okay. Once she processes her present, I think she does see images of her future, or not images of her future, more of her wishes and dreams for the future, where she wants to see her friend Elistine in a happy, healthy work routine. Celestine is a workaholic, and that's something that always plays on Syra's mind is how much of the team's burden he takes, and she tries to help in any way she can, but he is not very good at accepting help, and also she doesn't have the skill set to help him in the things in the areas that he needs help. So that is always like on her mind. So she sees Celestine in a setup that is healthy for him, and he's happy and healthy and has a good health work life balance. I think she sees Rennie thriving. Rennie is always thriving. Sees her new friend Altus kind of opening up, and she sees being best friends with Altus. That is again something on her mind that she wants to find ways to bond with Altus. And I think in this scene, they have already done that. So she sees them like hanging out. And she sees Puck. Again, shopping trips with Puck are her favorite things to do. So she sees quality time with Puck where they nerd out over fashion, because as she is developing an interest in fashion and has always been good at fashion. So just like luxurious treat yourself days with Puck is what she sees as her dreams and wishes for herself and the party. Oh, I love this. I did not expect it to go this deep, and I'm so glad it did. Oh, okay. And then from the lake of reflections, I think she just like is in a daze, just processing everything she just saw, wandering aimlessly, and she finds herself on the top of a mountain. And from the mountain, she has like a whole new perspective of the village and the surroundings and the lake and the meadow and all of it. And she just has this feeling of, again, completeness and surrender and whew, uh, I think she's just blank. I think she just goes blank. I think there's like emptiness within her. Like a good emptiness, if that makes sense. Um yeah. And I think she just stands there feeling the breeze, hearing the music, smelling the scents, and just closes her eyes and kind of surrenders to it all and just stays there for as long as it feels right. Uh yeah. And then she's. I don't want to move on from this moment. Like me in person right now. I don't feel like moving on from this moment. Interesting. Okay. Uh, but then I think she starts making her way after a very, 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 very long time. Just staying in that moment, she starts making her way back down the mountain towards the village. And on her way, she sees a stone that has that feels magical, that kind of like calls to her. It's a very regular looking stone, but something about it just catches her attention. And today has been nothing if not an exercise in trust. So she follows her instinct and she picks up the stone. And on the stone, there's a word written in Sanskrit, and the word is Udanda, which means abundance. To give you out of game context for this, um, during the festival of Ganpati, just the elephant god, when you invite Ganpati's mom over to your house to visit, you are supposed to show her all over your house, and every place you go to, like you go to the kitchen and you take her to the living room and you take her to the treasury, like every you take her to the office, like every important place in the house you take her, and she supposedly says Udanda, 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 which means let there be abundance, 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 abundance. It's kind of like a blessing to spread abundance in every aspect of your life that is important to you. And I feel that's the word Sarah finds written on this stone, which just says abundance and let there be abundance wherever she goes. And I think she takes the stone with her, with the intention of spreading the vibes of the stone wherever she goes. That is something that she actually practices pretty often. So, one of the in canon things that I have for Sarah from the first session is that she never goes to bed with her spell slots intact. So, at the end of the day, if she has spell slots remaining, she goes around whatever town she is in. If anybody needs help, and then heals them or does whatever she can with the spells that she has. So, she already does this, but I think this would just be a reminder of that, or a recommitment to that, or even taking it up to the next level of it's not just healing that she can provide, but also abundance. Yeah, I really, really like that. Cool. Um, okay. Okay. Um, and then I think she makes her way back to the village, and along the way, she comes across maybe it starts raining. Now I'm literally trying to shoehorn this prompt into the story because it doesn't fit the vibe, but I also don't know where else to put it. So the prompt is the shared shelter. You come across a small shelter during a storm, but someone is already inside, hesitant to share. I guess on her way back to the village, it starts storming because why not? And she comes across this little alcove, and she hurries to take shelter in it. But there's like this little tiny creature who's already taking shelter there. And it's hesitant to. It doesn't know Sarah, so obviously it's kind of like scared to welcome her into its shelter. And I think she would just respect that and move on because that's yeah, I this prompt is not vibing with me right now, so I'm going to move on from it. Being like, you know what, cool, I'll find some other um thing. I'll find some other place, and yeah, I think she steps out again in the rain, and she questions her instinct of trying to seek shelter because everything else has been so welcoming and so magical and so just like trusting nature and trusting her surroundings has worked so well for her today. I think she decides to just be in the rain and soak in and just, play around. And I think she just, yeah, I think she like jumps in puddles and like becomes a child again and enjoys the rain and like makes her way back to the village all soaked and happy. And then by the time she reaches the village, there it's dusk, so we did start at dawn, we made all the way to dusk. So the lanterns in every house are lit, and so there's like an alley, like everywhere she looks there are like fireflies and lanterns and lamps. Just makes her way through this glittering lines of lanterns and lamps, and what she feels, and every step she takes, she keeps repeating Udanda, Udanda, Udanda for every house that she sees, for every shop that she sees. She's just spreading the blessing or like passing on the blessing that she feels so blessed with today. So that's what she does as she makes her way to The banyan tree. She did not intend to go to the banyan tree. I think she is just on her way to her home. So she makes her way to the banyan tree. And the prompt actually says a fireside chat, but I'm going to change it to people sitting under the shade of the banyan tree and chatting, because that's again like a common thing you would see in an Indian village. So she makes her way to the group that is sitting by the banyan tree and just chatting, and she sits down with them for a chat. And I think she's still like in a daze, still like in that mode of processing everything she has witnessed and experienced today. So I don't know if she would readily share, but she's listening and being more present to the chat that everybody else is talking about. And I think the topic of conversation is comfort. This is inspired by my recent book club meeting where we discussed Sound for the Wild Build. And when I first read this prompt about the fireside chat, that's the image that came up in my mind, where we sat in a circle and discussed Sound for the Wild Build, which is like the ultimate cozy fantasy comfort book. And that's what we talked about, is what brings you comfort, what brings you like what does the book make you feel, and when did you gravitate to this book, and when do you actively seek comfort. So I think that's the discussion I'm bringing to the game, which is the group is chatting about things that bring them comfort, things that bring them joy. And as she is listening to everybody's things, she's making a mental note of who finds comfort and what, and who finds joy and what, because again, she is a people's person. So she is good at keeping a mental inventory of being able to provide people what they need whenever they need it. So she's just adding to her mental inventory. And then I think our final prompt, let me check. This might be our final prompt of for now before we move on to the reflection prompts. Yeah. Okay. So, um, when the group, when it gets later in the evening and the group disperses and Sarah gets up to leave and go home, she notices a journal. And there were travelers chatting with the group as well. Like they were part of the group as well. So she doesn't know who the journal belongs to. So she opens it up to find out who owns it. And I think what it is a mindfulness journal, because that's the journal I'm working on. That's my New Year resolution, is to work on my mindfulness journal. It's partially filled, like some of the prompts are filled, but most of the prompts are empty. And there is a note from the traveler saying, to whoever finds it next, hope it brings you as much comfort as it did for me. And I think that's the journal Syra uses, because I think the journal also has like blank pages where you can like actually journal, like free write and get your thoughts out. And I think that's how Syra finds her journal, because in canon, Syra does journal. Going out of game for a minute, in our main campaign, we take turns. We have a round robin system to do session recaps, and every one of us has a different style in which we present our recaps. And for me, I always present my recaps as an entry in Syra's journal. So I think this is how Syra acquired the journal in the first place. Yeah, so that feels right. That's the end of the prompts for this game. I'll do the two reflective prompts. I wanted to do the reflective session today as well, but I feel like this session took me to places that I didn't expect to go, and I kind of want to like sit with it for a minute. Yeah, so I think I'm going to wait on the reflective session, maybe until like next weekend or whenever. But I feel complete, and I have a feeling of completeness and just peace and happiness right now that I want to kind of sit with for a minute. So I'm going to let myself do that. And I'll see you soon for what will most likely be the final session of this vlog. Today is January 23rd, and I'm back for our last session of this game. And the two remaining prompts we have are kind of similar. The first is leaving your mark. As you prepare to leave, you reflect on the journey you have had. What impact do you hope your time in Hotlight has had? And then the final reflection, you sit by the hearth on the final day, reflecting on your journey. What are your thoughts? I think on her last day in Sundarshio, Saira visits the temple of Liara and she spends quite some time there just reflecting on everything that she has experienced and felt during this visit to Sundarshio. And I think what she takes away from the experience is this feeling of returning to herself, returning to her roots and her essence as the cleric of the goddess of joy. I think she was finally able to process everything that happened and forgive herself and let herself return to the place of joy within her. And I think that's what she takes from this experience. And I think that's also what she would leave in Heartlight or in Sundar Shield. She takes a stone that is similar to the one that she found that had Udanda written on it. And on this new stone, she writes Ananda, which means joy. She just goes out and about in the village and just throws the stone at random, hoping that someone who needs to find it will find it and that it will bring them a lot of joy. Um, yeah, I think that's the story of Saira's visit to Sundarshil, and I'm so happy with this experience. It took me places that I did not expect to go. I did not expect to go this deep into Saira's state of mind. My favorite solo RPG gaming moments is when I can surprise myself with the story, and I'm so glad I got to experience that with this game. I have been editing this vlog throughout the week, going through the clips to edit them gave me the opportunity to relive the gaming experience. And so I took some notes as I was editing and things were coming up for me, or I had like moments of insights. I'm going to share them with you now as my takeaways from the gaming experience. The first thing that came up for me is that the writing advice of starting with what you know instead of tackling a completely unfamiliar world from scratch worked really well for me. I did not create a whole new world from nothing for this game. I started with a character that I've been playing for the past 5 years. I started with a world that I know so well because it's my lived experience of Diwali in India, and then just putting them together made the gaming process very easy to at least to start with. That's something I'll keep in mind for the next game, is that don't start from scratch. Start with something familiar, something that you know of that you can build off of, just to get the process started. Second takeaway is that it's totally okay to not follow rules as written and make the game your own. Tweak it to make it work for what your goals are for the game. It's also okay to change your mind. So I started off with going through the setup and the mechanics and deciding not to use the stats. And as I was playing the game, I found use of the stats in some places, so I used them, but not everywhere. I also skipped around the prompts. I didn't follow them in the order I initially thought I would do the prompts in order. But then, as you saw, the second day I was so low on energy. The next prompts kind of required more from me than I had in the moment. So I just skipped around and picked ones that felt easy to answer. And I think that change helped me in the subsequent days as well, because then I gave myself permission to jump around and see themes within the prompts and see what interesting ways I can weave them together. I don't think I would have had the same experience if I had gone in order, because some of the prompts were repetitive. So I think I would have kind of gotten bored at some point, maybe. But giving myself permission to jump around and then put them together worked really well for me. So it's okay to tweak the rules or like to make them your own. Pick and choose what works for you for your goal for the game, and that's completely okay. An important insight I have is that honor your boundaries and lines and veils even in solo play. This is the first time I came across a point or a prompt in a solo RPG that didn't feel comfortable for me in the moment and something I didn't want to think about in the moment. And so I just set that boundary for myself of like, this is not what I want to explore in my games. And so I honored them. I think that was an important insight that I had never thought of, about it's okay to set boundaries and veils and lines for yourself in a solo RPG. Another very interesting that came up for me is that how the game prompted me to engage with experiences in real life. Like my whole trip to Pondicherry, the game was still on my mind. And I feel like I engaged with my experiences at the cafe. Like I was more present at the cafe. I was paying more attention to my surroundings. I was kind of viewing the cafes that I visited and the villa that we lived in through the lens of the game, and it helped me appreciate them more, pay more attention, pick up on things more that I usually would not have thought of. And this is something that I love doing through books and through other medium. Like I have done the Unsleeping City New York vlog where I went around New York as the characters from Dimension 20's Unsleeping City, and that kind of gave me a whole new perspective on New York. Then I've done a couple of bookish vlogs in New York where I visit the locations from the books in the city, and again went to places I never would have gone to myself. So I love exploring real life locations through these different media, and I did not know that solo RPGs could be one of those mediums that I could use to explore. And I think that has unlocked something creatively within me that I'm now looking for more opportunities to do that. And if I find any interesting ones, I'll probably document them on this channel. Another thing I did was that I documented the time that I spent per session. Session 1 was around 22 minutes. Session 2 was 29 minutes. Session 3 was the Pondicherry trip in real life. Session 4 was again 23 minutes. And session 5, where I did the 10 prompts, was 45 minutes. So that was the longest session that I played. So the total time played was around 2 hours spread across 5 days over a couple of weeks. And that was an interesting insight because I feel like I have been playing this game for a very long time, but in reality, I've only really spent like 2 hours on the game over like a couple of weeks. So those are all the insights I have to share with you for now. I think documenting this journey was a fantastic idea because I don't think I would have been consciously aware of these insights. Like, even if I had thought of them in the moment, I don't think they would have solidified enough for me to be able to take them into the next gameplay. I think this was a very successful experiment. I think I would like to continue the experiment. I think I will vlog some more solo RPG gaming experiences on this channel, and so make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss out on them. And thanks so much for watching. This is the longest video I've ever made, I think. I hope this was helpful. I hope this was fun. If you have any interesting gaming experiences you would like to share with me, or if something you realized as you were watching this video, something came up for you, feel free to let me know in the comments down below. And again, thanks so much for watching and happy gaming. Bye!